what are the main things that you want to hit while we are doing this? And by the way, live just means we're broadcasting to a private YouTube stream right now, so nobody can see it but us.
And then you go through and cut it up later.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from our conversation before, we kind of had we had, of course, the topic of advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just in general about like when you're getting buy-in, then like, are you going to be prepared then when you're pulled into all these topics, and when should employer brand be involved in different topics
Mm-hmm.
across the organization, like different internal topics and whatnot. But yeah, I'm open to talk about whatever, if there's other things too you had in mind.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey, you know, and sort of where you were when we met, and the things that you were hoping to do, and what's happened since then. Well, it's always interesting for people to kind of get the backstory like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be good. Let me see if there was another note that I took here. Give me one sec.
Yeah, no problem.
Mm-hmm. So we'll go for about 20 minutes. So you'll probably get some of your time back here. And then we can spend that time talking shop, or we can reset for a different time to talk shop. So that's all good.
We might as well use the time. I have another call starting at 3, so maybe we'll to drop like 5 minutes early to have that 5-minute break in between that we never get nowadays. But other than that, I'm good. So.
Okay. So you told me that you've got 900 ambassadors worldwide.
Yeah.
900. How many total employees?
235,000.
That's wild. And then you've got 30 ambassadors that are U.S. based and very engaged. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Okay. And then you're trying to activate the shop floor. Are we going to talk about that?
We could talk about, I mean, the difference in them, you know, we have with our 235,000 employees, we have, I believe, like 80,000 of those are more white collar, and the rest are manufacturing shop floor.
Mm-hmm.
So we could talk about the different strategies behind those.
Cool. Okay.
I don't know if we got into it on our last call, but we had, in the last year, we started Hootsuite, using Hootsuite Amplify, and then we also are using ISOM's Video Studio. So together with our ambassador program, you know, those tools have helped. Of course, though, you can't have like the tools on their own. You have to have the manpower and the resources behind it, and also the strategy that makes it work. So
right, does. So okay, all right, this is going to be good. Okay, so Hootsuite Amplify and iSIMS Video Studio are both pretty good tools. I don't know if I told you this before, but I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I went to Vancouver to train Hootsuite, train their recruiting team on how to use social media for recruiting. How fun is that?
That's very fun.
That was me and Lars Schmidt doing that workshop.
I've heard that before.
He's a constant collaborator of mine. We used to do a podcast called The Cool Tools Show. We've owned a consulting business together, like lots of things.
Okay.
He's an author. He used to be in charge of talent for National Public Radio, like lots of things.
It's probably been then on your LinkedIn that I saw.
Probably, yeah. We're together a lot. Okay. So I'm going to kick this off formally.
Okay. Do we just then go straight, like back and forth, just kind of keep it conversational, or how do you?
That's it. Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So do I say Continental Tire Company or Continental Corporation? How do I say it?
Just Continental.
Okay.
If that's cool.
Yeah. Fine with me.
Everybody always says Continental Tire, so I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, good. Okay. Hey, it's Craig Fisher, and I'm here with Allie Brown. And Allie leads some talent acquisition functions at Continental, a very large global corporation. And she's been doing some really fun things over the last couple of years with their employer brand. Allie, tell us who you are, what you do, how's it going, what's happening?
Yeah, so thanks, Craig. It's been crazy. I think we met, 3 years ago at the Employer Brand Conference in San Diego.
That's right.
And at the time, that was kind of my first foray into employer brand. I came with a marketing background, kind of a general marketing background in both digital and physical. Craig, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. You because I thought it dropped off because I went to full screen.
No, you're okay. Just keep going.
All right. So, yes, my background was in general marketing. So I've worked a lot in social media and digital marketing, as well as traditional video and content marketing. And when I joined Continental back in 2018, I was responsible for building up our employer brand in the US and Canada market. So prior to that, the company really didn't do employer brand at a local level. So we had more one approach that wasn't being quite localized and driven in the markets beyond posters. And so when I joined the team, we started digital channels in the US and started campaigning. And at the same time, our global team was repositioning our employer brand. So we didn't change our EVP, but we changed our whole communication framework around it, as well as the visual approach and look and feel, and giving it a much more modern look to attract the talent, and specifically the tech talent that we were looking to hire and still are today. And so I've been in that role, building up the brand here in the market for the past 3 years. And now recently, I've also joined our global team and am focused on several projects, one internal project, as well as responsible for our global employer brand advocacy project.
All right. So your company has a lot of employees. I mean, this is a big, big organization. I think you told me something like 235,000 employees worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
80K or so of them are sort of white collar jobs. And then the rest are manufacturing, warehouse, shop floor, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so, I can imagine getting some employer branding initiatives off the ground with that large of an employee population could be both challenging, but also some opportunities for employee advocacy. Mm-hmm. And so why don't you talk a little bit about that? What have you done? I think you told me you have something like 80 advocates. Is that right? Or is it 800?
No, 900 ambassadors.
900 ambassadors.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, um, so we obviously have different target groups, and manufacturing is a big part of our company. And not only do we make tires, as most people know, but we also make automotive parts and basically computers now that are going into your car and eventually going to be able to drive it someday, or who knows. But
Right.
there's so much different technology that we're working on, so it requires different types of engineers and different types of skills. So you have maybe an engineer that works on tires, and also an engineer that works on like visual infotainment displays in a car. So those are two very different skill sets that you have, and also, different things it takes different things to attract these types of people to your company and also engage your employees. And so we've taken some different approaches around our employee advocacy program. So we have a general approach that is open to all employees. And then we have this ambassador program where we're really engaging with a select few of ambassadors. And I know 900 still sounds like a lot, but that's globally. And so, for example, in the US market, we have a group of around 30 people. And we're trying to grow that, but growing it slowly, because we don't want to have a huge group of ambassadors who aren't engaged. So far, it's been great to have this group of identified people, because we're constantly being approached for different opportunities. Like, for example, a school wanted to do an interview with us. So we already have a community of people who have raised their hands and who we've had the opportunity to educate with our messages. So now we can reach out to them and see if they're interested in the opportunity, which makes, the whole situation a win-win, because they're able to have these opportunities to network or present themselves, or to help attract talent for their teams. And at the same time, we can get our brand out there as well.
So the win-win is you're helping those advocates or ambassadors grow their own brands, and that helps to grow your brand. And it does help them, I guess, individually attract talent for their teams, which is great. I know that even just having 30 ambassadors can be daunting. How logistically do you manage the rest? I mean, clearly you're not sending the same amount of content to 900 people as you are those 30, probably, right? But
Right.
You still have to juggle what's the overlap. You don't want everyone all sending out the same jobs at the same time every time you send one out, and you want them to have some other content to share as well. And so I would imagine the content generation itself is quite a task.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways that we've done that. And I guess big picture globally, we do have in each country that has ambassadors and is active in our program, they have someone who's leading the program, sort of like a point person for all the ambassadors to go to. So then we have our own community of all these country coordinators. And we also created a hub on our internal internet. And so in that hub, we have several different resources and information that they can all access. And then one of the things that we're using in the US to provide these ambassadors with different content is Hootsuite Amplify. And we started using that last year when we launched this program. And I think, it was a great way. In hindsight, we didn't know that everything would be shut down and there wouldn't be any more in-person events for these ambassadors to engage with.
Right.
And so we had planned to launch this program in last year. And instead of putting it off another year, waiting till the pandemic ended. We just decided to continue with it and to make our focus around social media and virtual events for these ambassadors in the meantime. So instead of giving them like networking cards or physical materials like we would have in the past, we're helping them, here's how you can update your LinkedIn profile and add a nice graphic to it, or here are some tips for giving virtual presentations if you're doing any virtual talks. So with Amplify too, I think it's important to not expect everyone to be super engaged, because each ambassador has their own activity and their own way of engaging, and not everyone wants to be a social media thought leader. So some people may prefer to do mentoring or events with students. So we try to provide, something for every different ambassador activity that they would have.
That's great. So I know that tools like Hootsuite Amplify don't run themselves. And so you still need a small army of, people doing a lot of work to make those things run. I'm a big fan of Hootsuite, everything they do. And I think I told you I got to go to their offices in Vancouver and do some strategy and consulting work with them and train their team. Many years ago, me and Laura Schmidt did that, and they are a canine friendly office environment. And so when we were there, all the people for the training filed into a room, and then 3 or 4 dogs also trailed into the room and did the training with us, which was really fun. But so for your purposes, using even Hootsuite Amplify, which is really pretty straightforward and easy to use, how many admins do you have on that platform, and how many people are there making sure everything's running and the content's getting in there, and it's all going to the right places at the right time?
Yeah, so we had 2, so I'll say 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pretty lean in that. And currently we have 100 seats on Amplify, so it's not a huge group of people that are using it, but it's still enough to make a really big impact. I think their combined reach of all their networks are over 1 million people.
Sure.
So it's cool to see the multiplier effect. And I think I saw recently on Hootsuite Amplify's website, they have a nice little calculator that you can put in your number of employees, and then the number of LinkedIn followers your company has, I think. And then it does some type of calculator where it says how many additional people you'll be able to reach through your ambassadors. So if you're looking to get buy-in for that, that is a great tool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still takes a lot to manage. I mean, I think we have been creative with copying different content that we're already using in other places, and then just rewording it and rephrasing it, and also encouraging our ambassadors to rephrase it as well in their own words. They don't do it all the time. Sometimes they just share it, but that's the benefit of it. And the benefit to them is because they can grow their personal brand in a way that's easy and manageable for them to just get started if they're really not, a LinkedIn expert, or maybe they're looking to have some content mixed in with their own content as well. So we found, a lot of the things that are doing really well for us on Amplify are the big company news and big company announcements. We are celebrating our 150-year anniversary this year as a company.
Wow.
It's really amazing. So we have tons of activities going along with that. Like we have, a whole visual approach and all these different post graphics that have been created, some really cool GIFs, as well as like all of this historical content. We actually have someone in the company who is a historian. And that's his job, is a Continental historian, which sounds so cool. And they're publishing a book this year that will be available on Amazon for the company's history,
Wow.
about the company's history. So I think you just have to look and collaborate too with other areas, and especially collaborating with the different businesses and business areas in your organization, because they want to get that content out there. So if you let them know, hey, I have a group of engaged employees who want to share content, they'll gladly, pass over content for you to share on those channels.
Yeah, it seems like once you have some success and people start seeing, hey, wow, my network's growing, people are reaching out to me, and then, other departments kind of understand what's happening and can see the organic engagement that happens. Marketing comes knocking, all the other departments come knocking, and buy-in gets easier, right? But then you have to decide where does employer brand get worked in to the overall message, what departments, what programs. So talk a little bit about that. How have you managed that, and where have you seen employer brand getting asked to pop up where you maybe didn't expect it?
Yeah, I know for years now, like as long as I've been in employer brand, I've been hearing over and over about getting buy-in and getting your stakeholders on board. And that's always seems to be a topic of conversation. But something to think about is when you do get stakeholders and other groups on board, will you be able to support their needs? And one thing that I think uh, our head of employer brand globally did that was really smart is she set up our global team based on projects, so that we can kind of divide and conquer. We still have the specialized areas like digital or employer brand management, but by focusing on these different projects, it really helps. And these are projects where we're working with different teams. So maybe with HR on some projects, or with our communication or corporate brand colleagues, like in the 150-year project. So I think that helps. But yeah, I think we need to decide in which cases is it impacting our employer brand, and then know how we're involved, and also when to involve others.
So I think at some point, everybody is sort of used to the program, and employer brand. It's companies realize that it's so drastically important and should be well integrated into the corporate brand, because I think consumers buy companies because of how they treat their people. If you ask me, right? I think that brands get trusted because of the humans within the organization, not just because of the brand. And so I feel that it should be a no-brainer, but it isn't always. Did you have to do some tough selling at first to kind of get these ideas going?
Yes, and I think we're still always doing some selling, whether it's trying to get budget for a certain project or initiative, because sometimes there's just only so much to go around. But
Right.
and you always need to fight for your project or what you believe in. But I do think now there is that general understanding of how employer brand fits into the corporate brand, and people are also starting to understand that it is becoming even more important to consumers. Another interesting thing too, you said it's important to consumers when they're buying a product, but it's also, I guess, important too for investors and like for companies buying companies.
Yeah.
I was listening to Bob Iger's masterclass, and I read his book on about just his whole experience with Disney. And he talks about when Disney went in to buy Pixar, and at the time Steve Jobs was running Pixar, and that was kind of the main reason that they bought the company, was because of its culture and creativity. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to think about if like maybe an employer brand or like a company's culture could even sell a company in that way, or that increase its value so much. So
absolutely. I mean, look at Zappos, right? Mm-hmm. Great example. Yeah. Thank you, Amazon, for making that an amazing thing. That it was, already great and just got bigger. So you were also telling me that you've been using iSIM's Video Studio mm-hmm. to capture some stories and video of your employees. How are you using that? Where are you using that? What's the experience like? Walk us through it.
Yeah, so we were looking at it prior to the pandemic, and then in the pandemic, we were in a situation where we weren't able to reach certain employees that didn't have email, and so we thought, well, we'll give it a shot and try it, because initially we were attracted to it for the employer brand selling points and video job descriptions, but there's also so much you can do around your internal communication and internal employer brand. So we have started using it for video job descriptions, and we'll be going live with videos on our website soon. We've also been using it for social media. So that has been going well. It makes great social media content to have those short videos like you're always doing, and showing how to edit. It makes it easy for you to do that and have that content. And then there's also other things that could be done, and so many opportunities with it. For example, we had an employee who recently won an award, and we had the idea to have her manager do a video for her. And we shared that then on our social media, and kind of was a nice surprise to her that she won this award that he nominated her for. So
I love it. That's my kind of story right there. And that's the type of good employer branding that we should all be thinking about. Mm-hmm. And it's always a fun, I won't even say a reward, but just a fun surprise when, you feature an employee's story or photo or something on any of your social channels. Instagram's great for that. Mm-hmm. And they do appreciate it. When I first started doing employee advocacy, we would send little branded swag to our employees for anniversaries and things like that, and encourage them to use a hashtag and take a picture and post it online. If they were going to share with their friends, why not share with the world, right? And they did, right, all over the world, and it worked amazingly well. But every once in a while, we'd just take one of those and feature it on the main Instagram mm-hmm. Page, and they loved it. They just ate it up. And so I can imagine that you're getting some similar results.
Yeah, definitely. People love it to see themselves or their colleagues on social media. So you make a good point with, just how the simple act of sending them something and telling them what the hashtag was. And I think, my approach to employer brand and employee advocacy in general is similar. Just it has to be very simple, because in order to get employees to do something, it can't be too complicated, and you do need to tell them what to do. You need to ask. So I think some people think, oh, if we create this hashtag or start using it, maybe people will catch on and it may happen organically. And there needs to be like the organic component to it, so it doesn't feel totally forced, but you do need to remind people about it. We have a lot of internal conferences at Continental, and we had an internal communications conference where they put together a great agenda and had this really interesting guest speaker talking about the concept of nudging people. And so it was just the general psychological thing to make people, choose a good decision. So he gave a lot of different examples of things, but one of them was I think how he maybe worked with Google and their employee cafeteria to help people to get better health, make better health decisions. They put up images around the cafeteria that had healthy foods. So they served a burger still at the cafe, but when you saw the picture of the salad, you bought the salad. And the same thing with like their drinks, they put the water at eye level instead of in like the sodas down below. So if you apply the same concept to advocacy and encourage people to do these little things and continuously encourage them over time, you'll start to see some results.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much, right? If you give them the what's in it for me, right? This is going to help you grow your network, and we're going to feed you some content if you want. And you don't have to, but if you want to, we'd love to, have you help us attract more great people to the organization like you. And just by giving them that little bit of empowerment to choose, but also blessing to, be vocal and share, that's a big thing. And a lot of companies don't do that, and most employees aren't sure what they're supposed to do or should do. And so having a plan and activating it and campaigning about it internally is a good idea. I mean, you're right. A little bit of direction goes a long way.
Yeah, we hear a lot like people saying they didn't realize they were allowed to post, or they're unsure if they would post the wrong thing. Because of course, like any other company, we have a lot of confidential products or projects, things that people aren't allowed to post about. So it's our job then with this program to educate them on how they can do it in a way that's safe and that helps them and makes them look good and makes us look good. So definitely pointing out the win-win is important.
Win-win indeed. Allie Brown, this has been a win for Inside Talent having you here today. Thank you so much. It's great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. And thanks for having me, Craig.
All right. And we're done. Look at that.
Yay.
Easy. Okay. I'm going to end the broadcast. Okay. Actually,
my introduction was kind of like long-winded. I don't know if